A special welcome to Councillor George Lawler, our WWETB Community Education Facilitator Breeding Maloney, and of course all of you are invited guests. So, as I said, we were delighted to have you here to launch this beautiful calendar which has been produced by the Hot Shots Photography Group during the lockdown. It really is quite remarkable when a group of dedicated people come together to focus on such a project despite the challenges that were encountered during the pandemic. Not only this, but also the very sad loss of one of our very much loved group members, Chris, at a time when the group was separated by the pandemic but yet yearned to be together to celebrate the life of their dear comrade and partner in the creative world of photography. But yet they have persevered with planning layouts, selecting images, endless discussions about the project and its logistics, proofreading, and now promoting the calendar. I think by the time it went to print, they were completely zoomed out. That's safe to say. So, but here we are today with this beautiful calendar made from the hearts of the Hot Shots, and they are, and please stand, Kerry, Lisa, Stephen, Finola, and Dennis. And it makes me extremely proud. It makes me extremely proud of this group, and I'm very honoured to be their tutor. And on that note, I'm going to invite Kerry, you can see with the lights, Kerry, there she is, to speak on behalf of the group.
Hello. We'd like to welcome you all here today to our Calendar 2022 Wexford in Mind launch. COVID-19 has affected us all greatly and plunged us into a prolonged lockdown, forcing us to cancel our annual photo exhibition last year. Therefore, this calendar is very close to each of our hearts, particularly as some of our class members, Chris Clark, was battling cancer while we were in lockdown, and we had hoped to make it one final exhibition. But it was sadly not to be. We have all been working hard on Zoom this past year and thought it would be an excellent opportunity to publish a calendar for 2022. We had one single goal, which was to share our love of Chris and our love of photography. All the photos were taken by us in County Wexford locations, and we're delighted that Chris was able to provide us with his beautiful image of Johnstown Castle to represent the month of December. We are pleased and indeed very proud of our calendar and have collectively decided to donate all funds to Wexford Hospice. Sometimes when you lose a special person, it is nice to recognise this, and we have tried to show our gratitude for our friendship with Chris through our calendar. He was an integral member of our class and is sorely missed by us all. There is a lot to be thankful for, and our love of photography has got us through this frustrating lockdown. I personally feel that the groups like this are vital for parents as it is a social outlet for us. It builds character confidence and a beautiful folder of photographs. We have managed to produce this fabulous calendar with the help of our teacher, Paula Malone-Carty, in conjunction with the WWETB. We are grateful and thankful to have this opportunity to produce such a beautiful calendar for charity. We are proud to be presenting it here today for you all, and we really hope you...
Because I was here the last time that the launch was going to happen, and I bought one, and it's gone to New Zealand already, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And what a lovely way to pay tribute to your colleague Chris. I just want to give you a few facts and figures about Wexford Hospice Home Care. The clinical nurse manager is Niamh Wolfe. There are 7 nurses to cover the county. They operate a 7-day service with a reduced service at the weekend. There is 1 nurse on call over the weekend to cover the county. This is a quote from Niamh, who is the nurse manager. So operating during COVID-19 times was and continues to be challenging. At the height of it, we were required to replace many visits with telephone and telehealth consults for the safety of staff and patients. We rotated teams in the office with working from home as per government guidelines. We continue to do this. This brought many challenges to all, but we weathered the storm, and ultimately all patients continued to receive an excellent service given the constraints. Just a few facts and figures. The new referrals for the year were 328. The home visits were 2,269. The discharges were 26. There were unfortunately 250 deaths, and bereavement visits were 141. The running costs of this service per annum are €744,189. Of this, there's a contribution from the HSE of €201,720. So everything else is done by sponsorships such as this. So we really have to thank you very much for thinking of Wexford Hospice Home Care when you were doing your calendar. So thank you.
Thanks, Ethna. Indeed, the Wexford Hospital is invaluable here in Wexford, and we're extremely thankful for the wonderful service that is provided to the people of Wexford. I just want to also acknowledge Chris's daughter Sue here as well, and her granddaughter Megan. You're very welcome here to see
My daughter.
Your daughter, I'm sorry.
Oh, Jesus. Just like, you know.
Fairly quick in there.
So now I'd like to invite Bridie Maloney, who is the Wexford Waterford Community Education Facilitator, here to speak on behalf of the WWETB.
Thanks so much. I'm just really overwhelmed with what you have made during lockdown. Community education is informal and non-accredited learning. We believe it's really important, and especially I think during COVID we've really shown how important community education is to not just the learners but society at large. We believe that community education can literally change lives, and when you look around at something like this, I think it's really fabulous to see the relationships that have been created and the memories that have been made from the people themselves. Looking at the calendar that was created, you know, when we went on Zoom in March 2020, we really thought community education, everyone's like, no, it's not going to happen, it's not going to work. And I think people have totally and utterly proved us wrong. And not me, well, we knew it was going to work, but some of our bosses maybe mightn't have thought so. And I think something like this, you know, I've been sharing it around with my colleagues, and people are so impressed and really, really proud of what Hot Shots have done, what Paula has done, what Eileen has done down in Bridgetown. And I just really want to say thanks so much. It's really an honour to be here, and well done. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Bridine. And Bridine has been and continues to be a great support to the group. So the calendar is available to buy in many shops around Wexford, and I'm just going to call out some of them here. So if you're in the vicinity, or any of your friends or colleagues are in the vicinity and they'd like to buy one, you could always pass this on. So Red Books here in Wexford, John Joy's Newsagents in St. Aidan's Crescent, Centra in Bridgetown, and there's a few places in Kilmore Quay, and they are the Stella Maris, Mace, the Hidden Gem, and the Village Market. Also Wallace's of Wellington Bridge, the Heritage Park, Malloy's, Super Value in New Ross, and PJ Murphy's Daybreak in Kilmore. So there's quite a few places where it can be purchased from. So now this brings us on to the speaker and our guest of honour, and I'm delighted to welcome Councillor George Lawler, who is going to officially launch the calendar for us.
Thank you, Paula. Good evening, everybody. I'm delighted to be here for the launch of the Hot Shots photographic group in Bridgetown. The launch, take two.
Yeah.
We were here in rather inclement weather the last day. Thankfully, the library have come up trumps again with this very fine gazebo, which I'm sure will get numerous uses in the coming months to come. I'm delighted to be in this building, which I, really admire, in the heart of Wexford town, on what is colloquially known as the cultural spine, stretching from St. Patrick's Church. You walk past the Opera House, here at the library, Wexford Arts Centre, the town wall, the 900-year-old town wall, down to Selsgraby into South Square, a stretch in Wexford town that really plays a key role in the lives of so many people, and principally culturally as well. So it's a great location for a launch such as this. I remember it's 11 years since this building was constructed, and thankfully it just about predated social media, because there was a lot of controversy about locating it here, because people were a bit concerned that we were getting rid of a car park. But I am sure you'll agree that the choice of location, exposing our town wall, our wonderful town wall that had been pretty much forgotten about up to that, is now it's a jewel in the crown of Wexford, and the staff here are so helpful and assistive to everybody who wants to come and be part of the County Wexford Library Service and facilitates events like this. I'm delighted to be here for a number of reasons. I was a good friend of Chris Clark. I was his printer for many years. Chris was the honorary secretary of the Irish Model Aircraft Association.
Yep, flight lines.
Flight lines. And every month, without fail, Chris produced a fabulous booklet detailing the work and events of all the model aircraft groups right across the country. I don't know if you knew that, but he was also heavily involved in fly fishing as well. And you know, he was a remarkable man, so I'm delighted to be here, and he would be really, really chuffed, because he had that accent that was rustic England,
Yeah, it's only me now.
but he loved Wexford, and he loved everything about it, and he contributed so much to Wexford. A man who lived up on the top of White Rock Hill, who just immersed himself in everything he could, and I'm sure you found that with Hot Shots, that he was somebody who gave more than he received. So I'm delighted to be here, because Chris was an integral part of a lot of good stuff that went on in this part of the world. I'm delighted to see Suzanne and Megan here tonight also. Obviously, Wexford Hospice Home Care are just troopers in providing such a wonderful, heartwarming, caring unit to people when they really, really need it, people and their families. And I know Chris would also be so chuffed and delighted that the proceeds of the calendar tonight are going to benefit that organisation. It's also great to see Brideen Maloney, a good friend and colleague over a number of years. We soldiered on the board of the Women's Refuge together, where Brideen was chairperson, so she knows a lot about community involvement in Wexford, and was instrumental in securing €4.5 million for the construction of a new refuge, which will happen hopefully when we get over all the much daunting paperwork that's involved. I remember during a festival time, and I know you wanted to launch, or originally wanted to launch it in and around the time of the festival. We just finished up, of course, on Sunday, but festival time is traditionally a time for the launch of photographic exhibitions. And I remember in the space of 24 hours being asked to open 4 photographic exhibitions in Wexford. So I thought the best thing to do was to write the same speech, because in fairness, you would expect that people would appreciate the same words at 4 different venues. Until I turned up at the second one and realised that everybody who was at the first one was also at the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one. So on the hoof, I had to decide to change the notes that I had made. It's not the case in this scenario, because you are the only photographic exhibition that I think one of the few photographic exhibitions around Wexford at this time. It's a surreal time. It's been a surreal almost 2 years, but I think the community education element of the WWETV, I always have difficulty saying that quickly, WWETV has come to the fore. And oftentimes education is not just about education. It's about that added value of community, and the added value of what bringing people together can offer. Now, I know a lot of this was done on Zoom, but Zoom has been a godsend to many people during the past almost 2 surreal years. It is at a time like this that you realise how much we need each other, and how much we need to interact with each other. And I think if there's one thing that the past almost 2 years has taught us, is if we ever get an opportunity to do anything, don't let it pass, because it may not come again. Myself and Paula's husband Tony have been involved in a number of shows, and over the years I personally would say things, I'm not bothered going into that, and I'm not doing, until it wasn't there. And then you suddenly realise that it's not always going to be there. So for organisations like Hot Shots and groups like Hot Shots to come together as a group of people, not just obviously learning, and that was Paula's job, and her enthusiasm is infectious when it comes to photography in particular, When it comes to bringing a group like that together, the added value is community. The added value is coming together as a group, be it on Zoom, and you know, there was times we got fed up of it, but can you imagine the past 2 years without it? We weren't able to interact in any way, shape or form. I think myself and Brie Dean had numerous fairly heated meetings at the beginning as we discussed various issues, but it allowed us to continue the interaction and allowed groups like yourselves to continue to grow and learn and come together as a people, albeit remotely. So it's wonderful to be here tonight in this wonderful building, in this historic part of Wexford town. I congratulate you on the wonderful calendar. I've often said that putting your wear out there is almost like running naked, because you are displaying your talents almost for critique. And that is something to be very proud of, to be able to put what you gathered and what you've done. And remember that photography is the capturing of a moment in time that we'll never get back again. We will never get back again, sadly, Chris's moment in time, but we have it there to remember him and to remember that moment in time. And also to remember the friendship that you fostered and the solidarity that you showed towards him, even when he wasn't around and after his passing. So I congratulate you on this wonderful calendar. I thank you for your support of Wexford Hospice Home Care. I see Gary Morris has arrived, a member of the Wexford Hospice Home Care team, chairman. Gary is another person who gives back a huge amount to the community, and I've seen that firsthand here in Wexford Town in particular. So I thank Gary and I thank Etna for their wonderful contribution, as well as the nurses, doctors who contribute to the hospice home care. So I'm delighted to launch this calendar. Be very proud of what you've done in these surreal and awful, often awful times, but things like this are a real ray of hope, and hopefully next year we'll have another launch in a more acceptable in a more acceptable manner, and we look forward to Hotshots fostering once more and developing the wonderful skills that they've done today. So thank you very much indeed, and well done.
Thank you, George, for that wonderful speech. That was really, really good. Thank you. And we had Gary Morris, who is the chairperson of the Wexford Hospice, has just arrived, and I'd just like to invite him to say a few words on behalf of the hospice. Okay. Gary, and just while Gary's coming up, I just want to also thank the library for providing us with this beautiful venue here tonight and looking after us so well. And congratulations to Mary and the team. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Good evening. So it's never a good thing to try and follow George Lowder on stage, particularly when he's just brought in an analogy about running naked through the streets.
Robbie with the days there.
Not anymore. So yeah, my role as chairperson, and I believe Etna is here, and Etna has already given you an outline of what the hospice is and what they've done. So it's 30 years old. It costs over 700,000 every year to run the hospice. Of that, we get approximately 210,000 in a grant from the HSE every year. So we really do rely on all the charity of the people of Wexford to run this organisation, which consists of 7 to 8 nurses. They are at the moment going through an unprecedented busy period. Because of the pandemic, more people are choosing to die at home, and this means that there's an increased workload for them. If you know what the hospice is, you know. If you don't, you at some stage will learn about it in your life. I first came across it, I had a passing reference to the hospice before I came involved. It was through the passing of my own sister that I saw firsthand what the hospice did. And I saw the benefits that it brings to the person that's passed and to the family members themselves. So I know firsthand. I've seen it again this week with a close friend of mine whose son has just passed away. The hospice do invaluable work, and we need the people of Wexford to support us. So many thanks to what you've done. And just from everyone on the board and the committee and all the nurses, many thanks.
So thank you very much for being here. And just to remind you, if you haven't got a calendar already, they're just there. Okay. And good night. Thank you very much.